Hi, I'm Aisha.
Hi, I'm Jade.
And we're Babes with Blades. So I'm an actor and a stunt woman.
And I'm a film director and a writer. Babes with Blades is essentially a film collective that came about us wanting to champion diverse voices in the action genre. Like all good stories start, I slid in Aisha's DMs. I wanted to make a documentary about another Asian woman or a woman of Asian heritage in the stunt world in the action industry, and that's how we got connected.
So I was born in South London, in Croydon. My dad is Arab from Oman and was raised in India, in Hyderabad. And my mum is Indian, and she kind of introduced me to what my actual heritage was a lot later in life because I didn't ask as many questions. She moved from Rajasthan and Batala, their family moved to Pakistan, and I'm actually Rajput from that side of India.
My mum is Chinese Malaysian and, funnily enough, born in Ipoh, where Michelle Yeoh is from. So I guess the action side of it all makes a lot more sense.
I love that that's the qualifier as well.
And my dad is from Jersey, so the Channel Island. And interesting enough, I actually grew up in Exeter, but with my cousins who are also part Lebanese. And so I think even when I was living in more rural areas of England, I was still had a very unique cultural melting pot.
Yeah, I kind of had a moment because this is also when I thought I was straight. So I was married to a man I met off Tinder, but I sort of discovered I didn't quite want to do the thing. So it was just like, oh, this isn't going to work. Let's maybe not do that. But one of the things about that whole process was I can't fit myself into the little white picket fence that I desperately wanted to do. Now, to kind of roll it back to the accidental trajectory of creativity that ended up coming out, I was behind the camera initially. I was really into photography and makeup, and then I ended up meeting one of my other best friends who was a Playboy bunny and doing her makeup for a shoot, and then we became really close. The Playboy guy saw us together and offered me a job, so I was a Playboy bunny, and that was really stupid and fun for a couple of months before I was like, oh, fire breather on stage, that looks way more fun. So I ended up sort of pursuing a bit more circus art career, and I was a fire breather and then did kind of sexy jackass really, I'd lay on beds of nails and jump on broken glass and all that kind of carny stuff, and then became really interested, had a massive penchant for weaponry out of absolutely nowhere. By this point I was kind of midway in that career, and I sat with my mum speaking about where our heritage was from, and she revealed that our Indian side is Rajput, and they are the most prolific warrior clan in Indian history, and their specific thing is horses and swords. So at this point I was like, wow, I found my way to become a weapons performer completely by accident, completely Kismet has found me. At that point I decided, okay, I need to learn sword. So I didn't really know how to go about doing any training other than aesthetics, because at that point, obviously being in front of camera, I was going to the gym a bit, but it was cardio and all that stuff. I had no real understanding of my body and what it was capable of. And I think by this point I started training very unorthodoxly rather than going to find a martial arts tutor, because again, that stuff's not really accessible. You don't know where or how to find it. Started training a little bit of that, got quite into it, became the Indian girl that was good with swords, and that kind of found me in the very lucky spot of my career, because they specifically needed an Indian girl that was good with swords in a show called Brassic. Upon which the stunt coordinator met me and was like, why on earth are you not doing stunts? And I was like, because I'm 29 and I'm not a professional athlete in any way. This is about the remit of my physical ability. So he convinced me to start training for the stunt register. So that began my training journey and lots of other things, which also welcomed me into horses, which is another, massive part of my heritage that I wasn't able to access because it's such a traditionally affluent, exclusive sport in this country. So my heritage, ironically, the thing that I ran from for majority of my adulthood, became the most important aspect of the actual meteoric rise of who I've actually become. My friend put it in a really, really nice way, where while a tree grows upwards, a tree also grows its roots, so that it grows in both directions. And I truly believe if you're not rooted in your culture, wherever that might be from, if you don't understand where you came from, it's also going to be impossible for you to rise up.
one of the most interesting generational transitions that obviously my Popo was so horrified about was that I was playing sport. She just didn't like the idea that I was going to have muscles and that I wouldn't look a certain way, I wouldn't be a certain size. I never studied as a filmmaker. Everything has kind of been learned on the job, and I started out as a documentary maker, so at least I had an understanding from having worked at Vice about like how to use a basic camera. Yeah, it's an interesting one because when I was starting to Google the careers of action directors that I really admired, a lot of them had been stunt performers themselves, and that makes a lot of sense because it is such a technical and it's such a niche field in some ways. And there hasn't really been any careers of female action directors that I've been able to fully look up to. I think we need to be so real about what the film industry has really been like for women, and all women, but also women of colour in particular. I think one of the most important things that I try to do for other women on my sets is to have the element of collaboration where they feel secure in, you know, what they're wearing, but also that if something happens that they'll be listened to, because that's also the kind of spaces that I would also want to be in.
Especially within the action niche, you know, it's one of those things that I think is so difficult. Like, we're definitely making progress in the industry as a whole, but I think more strong women connecting both behind and in front of the camera and forming relationships like that are so important. So there's lots of other kind of old boy attitudes where you're like, oh, you can't say this, or you can't run in and put in an extra pad because you're going to hit the deck in a certain way. And especially with women, it's just like, oh, you know, you need to be gnarlier than the guys. Like, oh, in our day, like, we'd only put newspapers in our knees, and that would be our knee pads. And I'm just like, yeah, cool, bro. And that's why you're broken in 38 different places, and you know, you don't perform anymore. We're told that our bodies stop working at 30 because it's based around fertility. Again, another patriarchal shadow, isn't it? And that's just not true. Again, I've become a professional athlete in the last 6 years, and that was when I started. I started at 30.
At the end of the day, a lot of trust comes in when you're doing live action stunts, you know, and that is a real relationship of trust between the performer, the actor, myself as a director, and our stunt team, and in this case, if there's this particular specialist as well. And so I think having a relationship of trust between us as two best friends, where we can come up with a completely outlandish idea that literally no one else in the world would be able to do, and then figure out a way of making it not only look cool but also safe and iconic, is definitely a very, very unique type of best friendship.
It is very unique to us, to be fair. Yeah. Just figure out how many ways we can nearly kill me, but not on
make
camera.
it look good.
Yeah. Meeting someone that just allows me to have to expand rather than have to shrink in order to occupy space together is beautiful, because it shows you how big the world can actually be when you accept that there's the glass ceiling that we've been given is absolute bollocks. Shatter it with your whole chest, and she has made me believe that, which is absolutely incredible. It's just facts, innit?
But
It's
I think
facts.
also it is especially crazy because it's like when you look at people doing sport together, right? Like communities form from, like, you know, playing rugby or football, and it's like because we have our own unhinged physical bond of like, we're going to try and do this, and we're going to do that, and obviously the product weirdly isn't team sport, it's hostile girl action films. It does bring you, it brings you very close.
Genuinely, like meeting Jade for the first time, forming a serious female friendship, she completely re-established what I thought friendship could be.